Hi everyone, Adrian Player here, mortgage broker based up in Brisbane. I'm the head of finance in Fundy and all we deal with is property investors. So in this video we're going to be talking about very common things that we see from our clientele and when they reach out to us, because we like to think that a lot of investors start their journey and they don't know about us and they don't really know that they need us until something goes wrong. And a lot of the time that's when mistakes get made, or they've got much loftier goals than where they currently sit, and they're constantly going up against roadblock and roadblock and roadblock to getting to their goals. Now, a lot of mortgage brokers don't have experience in the property space, so they won't talk to you about areas or types of properties. And the other thing that we see in the industry a lot is that a lot of people think that this is financial advice, when in reality, mortgage brokers can speak about property every day of the week. It's talking about property, and the majority of the time when we're dealing with clients, we're talking about personal stories that we've gone through on our property journey, because I own 9 investment properties myself, and Dave Ward, the founder of Fundy, he's been in property now since the late 1990s. So there's pretty much nothing we haven't seen or done. And I've been in the finance space for 14 plus years. So let's go through these right now and let's talk about them. So these are some of the common clients that we see that come to us. You know, we're seeing a lot of structure issues. They're using principal and interest a lot. They're not using offset accounts. You know, they're going through a banker who's cross-collateralized 3 to 4 of their loans in the promise of a really good interest rate, but in reality, they're just locking up those properties and the bank's got more control over them. They're chasing rate but not with the right banks or the right policies. So we see a lot of investors go and chase interest rate when their goal is right up here on borrowing power and the ability to get more properties, and then they go down the rabbit hole of chasing interest rate and wonder why that they don't hit their goals. So we see that a lot. You know, we see a lot of things like not bumping out loan terms on refinances, especially when a client wants to go through a buying sequence. Every time you touch a client's credit report is vital that you're doing everything that's needed. And just getting an interest rate down or tapping some equity and revaluing the property and pulling it out, you should be doing a lot of those other things as well that increase the borrowing power and make the situation better when they next want to go and get credit. All right, so these are some of the things. So let's talk a little bit technical. Why don't we like principal and interest? We love principal and interest. You get lower interest rates and you're paying down the principal of the property, and 30 years later you own the property. So why wouldn't you like principal and interest? Well, we want you to control the cash flow, not the bank controlling the cash flow. And at least when you're going through a buying sequence, we want clients to have that excess cash flow sit in the offset. We don't want that paid off on the principal, which is a normal repayment. It's not an overpayment. So then you're not able to go back in and redraw that money back out whenever you want to roll it into your next deal. You're constantly having to revalue the property and pull the money back out with a top up or an equity release, which is another transaction. So we also like keeping the loan balances high, because you get your extra tax deductions if the loan balance is high. And anything I say here, just go and speak with your accountant and make sure that they're a property focused accountant. So we're a mortgage broker, and these are just things that we talk about every day, and we deal with these kind of things every day. So fact check everything that I'm saying. I'm not a financial advisor. All right, so that's the reason why we like interest only. And we've got probably 50-60% of our clients that they go through a buying sequence and they get investment properties and then they replace their income, and they just keep on rolling interest only terms for 5 years, and in their mind inflation is going to do the work. So if you have debt locked in at 300,000, right, and the rent's at 450, in 15 years or 20 years or 30 years, what is that rent going to be? It's going to be up, maybe 3 or 4% on average every year. Inflation is making the property go up and up in price, but that debt is locked in. So you might strive a way to pay a property off in 14 years now, when if you just roll interest only terms for the next, let's say 15, 20 years, you could potentially pay that property off in 3 years compared to 14 years prior. So they would rather have the lifestyle now and just allow inflation to do the work. So a lot of people do that. All right, so let's go to number two. So these are the common clients that we see and the common issues that we see in their portfolios. So purchasing the wrong properties, all right, because a lot of the time clients have knee-jerk reactions where their goals are up here, right? But their property selection is either a dud or it's not towards the goals that they've got. All right, so we see a lot of off-the-plan buys of both units and houses. In late 2017, early 2018, that's when the unit prices peaked in Sydney. And there was a big bulk of people that were, for about 10 plus years, that were buying off the plan, putting a 10% deposit down, settling on their property 3 years later and making a lot of money. Now we're seeing bank valuations come in 100 grand lower than contract price. We're seeing, problems with builders completing on the projects. We're seeing problems with completion dates on projects being pushed out because of worker shortages. We're seeing material issues and inspection issues on off the plan. So we're seeing that. We also see a lot of overpaying. So I'll give you an example. The Perth Market. So Perth Market has been booming for about 2.5 years now, and I'll give you an example. Perth, probably the first market that started going crazy was the Armidale Market, about 45 minutes southeast of Perth, and we saw that market and it was in the low 200s. Now you can't get into that market for probably 450 for a decent house on land now. Okay, so it's gone up nearly 100, 120, 130%, give or take. And we're seeing the same thing after that. We saw Rockingham go up, then Mandurah go up, and then now everyone's flooded into the Bunbury market. All right, we're seeing people still buying in those markets for these 3 and 4 bedders. We had one example of a 4-bed, 2-bath, 2-car. This one was a 3-bed, 1-bath, 1-car on a decent sized lot in the Mandurah area, and it listed at 390 and it ended up selling for 470 plus. It had 15 plus offers on it. Now the person that bought that property is a mug. Okay, it's dumb money. Okay, you've seen that market go up way too much. The quick amounts of growth that you were seeing in that market has stopped. Yeah, that market still might have 18 to 24 months juice in the tank, right? I get that. But it's not going to have that explosive growth that it had in the last 2.5 years. So we see a lot of people, they're slow on trends. They don't know where the money's going. And we know exactly where the money's going. And it's very clear to see because we've got 1,600 plus investor clients in Fundy, and we see where the eyeballs are. We see where the buyer's agents are running, and we run our own stats. We can see when markets are changing. Same thing that happened with price disparities in the Perth and South Perth market is going to be happening in another state over the next 18 months. I guarantee it. All right, so overpaying. Next one, buying a negatively geared property when rates were low, and now that negative geared property has gone insane with rates going up to 6.5%, 7%. So much so that you're out of pocket 10, 20, 30 grand a year, and you're nearly at the point where you've got to be able to survive between tax returns because you only get your rebate on your negative gearing when you lodge your tax. So you've got a 12-month period where that negative cash flow is coming out of your pocket. So it didn't hit people hard when rates were 2%. It really hits you hard if rates are 6.5 or 7%. And there's a lot of hurt in those markets at the moment. And the people that loaded up on strategies or tried to build out a large portfolio with those strategies. All right, so number 3. So these are clients that regularly come to us, right? So not accounting for land tax when building out a bigger portfolio. And structures can be used in the right areas to reduce land tax. So, people don't get the right guidance. They don't talk to the right mortgage brokers and accountants. And, there are some simple ways that you could be buying one property in one name. If you've got a husband and wife situation, and they're married, you could have one buy in one name, one buy in another, and then buy the third one in joint. So a lot of states will allow you to have 3 land tax thresholds if you do that. And if you're a married couple, a lot of banks see the servicing as together anyway because you're married. So that's one way. Or you could be buying in states like WA and Queensland and running each property in a separate trust, and you're in a situation where you get a separate land tax threshold per trust. All right, so if you're building out a large portfolio, you really got to be getting the right advice around this. And a lot of people, they just fumble through. They buy in personal name, and then they get to the end, and then they start getting, because a lot of the time the land tax doesn't hit you until the following year. So you go buy, and then on your third or your fourth buy, you start getting these land tax checks. And also, a lot of people have to be very careful with buying in states like Victoria, who has such a big budget deficit, and they're really looking at the property investors as a cash cow to pay back that debt. And the land tax has just gone up in Victoria, and they're also trying to hit people with a lot of other things in the Victorian market, which property investors don't like. So you got to be very careful on the states that you're buying in and how much property you've got in those states, right? Also, yes, you could get a baseline level of properties, houses and grannies, and you could go down the path of buying some units, some townhouses and villas that have a lower land component, so you aren't paying as much on land tax if you're building out a bigger portfolio. So that's another way to look at things. So clients maxed out on their borrowing power. So I would say that this is either a worry that they have right now or a worry that they have in the future. And a lot of the time they don't know that they need us to the point where they max themselves out, and then they go, oh wow, this guy that I've been following for 6, 12, 18 months, he's been talking about this for so long. So they don't know that they need us until they need us a lot of the time. And that's because I say in the broker market, there are a lot of really good brokers and buyers agents that will get you to 3, 4 or 5 investment properties and will do well by you, and will structure things right. But anyone that wants to get to 10, 15, 20, 25 properties plus, there's very few buyers agents and finance guys in the country, and we like to think that we are one of them, that can actually get you to those goals, has examples, it has owners like me who have done it and can show you that they've done it. So really, the borrowing power is a big one, because a lot of the people have goals right up here, but then they have a structure and a strategy which hits down here, and they're never going to hit those goals. All right, so always coming back to what your goals are. And a lot of people want these lofty, I want to hit 150 grand passive income, I want to retire in 5 years, I want my partner not to have to work and they can help with the kids in 3, 5 or 7 years, but then they don't structure things right, they don't do the finance right, and they think it's a property game, when in reality, post 2018, it is a finance game with property as the vehicle. Okay, pre-2018 it was a property game, now it's a finance game. You can't build out these big portfolios unless you structure your property finance correctly. Okay, this is in 2002 where you can just walk into one of the big 4 banks with a deposit and a reference for your job and come out 30 minutes later with a formal approval. No, it's very systemized right now. So you've got to be structuring things right and using the right broker and accountant to be able to structure things right so you can build out a bigger portfolio. All right, so so the key thing is they don't know they need us until they need us. So we see a whole lot of these people. So we'll go through their portfolio, and these are some of the things that we see in here. So they won't sell their worst performing assets. So you can go through the properties and you can see which is the worst performing, right? They won't sell their property with the highest debt on it. So they're going to have this all these other properties at 300-400 grand, but then they've got this one investment property at 700, and they keep on saying it's blue chip, all right, and this is, I'm going to sacrifice my growth. But they don't realize that if they offload that asset, open up their borrowing power and rebuy inside of a trust for their next one, they've now opened up there and unlocked their borrowing power to a point where it's not sell one, buy one, it's sell one, buy 10. Okay, over the next 3, 5, 7 years. So a lot of people don't get that. So we show examples and we show why, and that kind of opens their minds, because it takes a lot of effort and time to buy property. I get it. And if you sell a property, you have the CGT, you have the sales commission, you have the stamp duty to rebuy in, you've got the solicitor costs in and out. There's a lot of costs. So you don't want to sell if you don't have to sell, right? So next one, they won't sell the property with the worst yield on it. And you can see these ones, they're sitting at 2, 3 and 4% gross yields. And they just want to keep it. And again, a lot of the time you hear this blue chip phrase, which is a whole lot of rubbish. So they won't, last one, they won't refinance and transfer 1 or 2 of the properties from personal name to trust, because they don't want to pay the CGT and the stamp duty again. And that's what I did on my property, all right? So I put 2 of the properties outside of my personal name, put them into 2 separate trusts, and here we are. I've unlocked my borrowing power, and right now I do not need my income to go up. So as long as I've got deposit or the equity to go forward, and as long as the rates don't go up another 2 or 3%, which I don't think will happen, I'm in a position where I can probably buy 3, 4 or 5 over the next 12 months. That's my goal. And I don't need my income to go up to do that. All right, so next one, 5. They will want to maintain their relationship with their prior broker or lender when we're the ones fixing all their mistakes and doing all the complex work at the end. All right, we see a lot of this. They've got loyalty, and we like loyalty, right? But the key thing is, I like to stay in my lane and my zone, right? I've never once overpromised a client. Now, if I've had a client sitting in front of me 5 years ago that said, I want to have 15 investment properties, I would have said 5 years ago, I deal mainly with first home buyers, and this is not in my zone. Go and speak with my mentor, Dave. He can walk you through it. But now we've got all these investment focused brokers, when in reality, let's be completely honest, 90% of them just fumbled into being in the investment side because their clients grow as long as they stay with them, right? Okay, more clients need investment loans. The bigger that they get, the longer that they stay with the broker. So then a lot of these brokers label themselves as investment focused brokers, when in reality they've just fumbled into it. And then, like I said, they're really good in the 3, 4 or 5 investment property space, but all these clients that sit in front of them that say they've got 10, they want 10, 15 or 20, I just think you're doing, they're doing a complete disservice to those clients, where they're promising the world, not delivering, and then that person comes over to Dave and I in Fundy, and we've got to go through all of this to make it work, and show them options on what they need to do to unlock themselves, to start recycling their borrowing power in the future and to continue buying. But then they've got this misplaced loyalty where in reality, they should be looking at that current broker and saying, well, why did I do all of that with you under those current structures if that wasn't going to get me to the goal? Why did you lie to me? So that's really where, and it's gotten to a point now where if Dave and I feel like we're just doing that one loan at the end, or we're doing this complex unlock, and this client is just going to go back to their current broker and think that they can run these kind of systems, we're like, good luck, go. Because a lot of the time they come back anyway, and if they come back, Dave and I have to decide if we want to maintain that relationship or not, because there's not many investment property focused brokers that do what we do. So we do get, I guess, a better selection on do we or do we not want to maintain this relationship. So yeah, that's just some of the things that we've seen. Number 6, they want to do all the complex work at the end for a little granny flat loan or another small buy, but their future refinances will go through the other broker who made all the mistakes, which is why the client is speaking to us in the first place. So it's best interest duty, right? We've got to do the right thing by the client, and Dave and I would never say or do something or tell a client to do something that's not in their client's best interest. But if we do all this work and complex stuff at the end and do the granny flats and do these small loans at the end, we expect that the relationship is with us going forward. We have the skill, we have the experience. There's a reason why we're sitting at the end of the rabbit hole after a client's filtered through all of these other brokers and financiers and buyers agents get to us. There's a reason for our place in the market. And if a client onboards through us, they stay with us and they do their loans with us. If we find out that they want to maintain a relationship with a prior broker, we'll just offload that client, because it's a complete waste of time. We can't be doing these 5, 10, 15 investment property unlocks and all these different stages to get it done and get a client finally in a place where they can continue borrowing and reaching their goals. And then they think that they can just go back to their current broker and do all the large refinances there, which is where all the meat on the bone is on a lot of these clients and the transactions. So we built up Fundy to be in a place where we need our clients to be happy. We need clients to know that we're client focused, and the more that we put them first in every way and we build them up, they stay inside of our network. And even if they become fully income replaced, a lot of them become developers anyway in their own right inside of our network and continue to do the loans through us. All right, so that's where our really big meat on the bone is. It's doing those refinances at the end once they've got a large portfolio, or they start flipping 1, 2, or 3 duplexes a year, or they start doing micro apartments, and they need us to help them going forward. Because doing these 3 and 400k loans with our skill set and experience, we don't earn a lot of upfront commission from this from the banks. And the level of experience and skill set that we have compared to the normal broker, we're supplying so much more value and we're not charging for it, right? So we're just completely upfront now that the relationship is us going forward. So I hope that this video has really helped you. Hopefully it gives you a very good idea on, you know, the kind of meetings that we have with clients, what we see a lot, how we talk about it. And this might just lead you to that place of questioning your current relationship, your current structure, your current properties. Why doesn't my broker talk about these things with me? When in reality, we're a holistic service. We do everything, including the finance side and the buyer's agency side if you need it. So yeah, we stay in this space. We stay in our lane. 95% plus of our clients are property investors, and you know, we've got 120 fully income replaced clients prior to the rates going up, and now we've got 70 plus after the rates have gone up, you know, to 6.5+%. So we've got a number of clients inside of our network that also build up portfolios of micro apartments as well. So we do have a lot of sophisticated investors on our books doing great things in the market. So hopefully this video has added a lot of value and shows, you know, what we see a lot, how we talk about it. You know, we discuss all these things with our clients. We're always putting them first, but also just the reality of the kind of clients that come to us, you know, and the things that we have to do and go through to get them through to their next stages and reaching their goals. Because it's not simply let's just get them a loan and talk about the interest rate. That's very far from the case. If we have a client that just wants to sit there and talk about the interest rate, they're not our client. Our client hardly ever brings up the interest rate. The most things that they're focused on is talking about, oh, how does this work with this policy? Will that get me more loans? Where is the borrowing power there? Oh, let's check these 3 banks with the better policies and see if we can get a higher valuation, and then we can do X, Y, and Z. That's our client. Okay, our clients are hitting goals and they're striving for targets and really trying to build wealth for themselves and their families. All right, so hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave me a comment, and we'll see you on the next video. All right, then bye.